After the expiry of 35 days notice period for the removal of unauthorized structures, Kathmandu Metropolis has used force to deal with the problem. Mayor Balendra Shah led the team of KMC, which has torn down structures in major hubs of the city. Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma, and these are the headlines of the hour. CPN UML Chair Oli meets Prime Minister Dewa to express his concerns over endorsing citizenship bill without amendments, adds discontentment on bills for transitional justice. Kathmandu Metropolis begins tearing down buildings and structures constructed by violating regulations inside the metropolis. Kathmandu District Court directed to furnish documents of its building. At least 22 people killed as a Russian rocket strike on Ukrainian train station. 5 of the victims burned to death in a vehicle, and an 11-year-old boy also killed. And the 5-match T20 International Series between Nepal and Kenya to begin from today. Match scheduled for a 3:45 p.m. kickoff Nepal time. Nepali Congress President and Prime Minister Dewa and main opposition CPN UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli usually issue sharp criticisms of each other at public forums. However, at times of difficulties, they have not hesitated to extend proposals for collaboration. The two leaders held a meeting at Balwatar yesterday on a similar mood. UML Chair Oli had reached the Prime Minister's official residence in Balwatar to express his concerns over the citizenship bill and the issues related to transitional justice. Prior to this, Oli had met with Prime Minister Dewa during the parliamentary ratification of the American aid program Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC Nepal Compact. The relationship of collaboration between these two leaders, who often issue sharp criticisms of each other, began after the endorsement of the Mahakali Treaty back in 1996. Since then, the two leaders seem to have collaborated on several occasions, even when they were in or out of power. After the previous provincial and parliamentary polls, Dewa had maintained a cordial relationship as the opposition leader with Oli, who was leading the government. Even while recalling most ambassadors appointed by Nepali Congress, Oli had not recalled Dewa's mother-in-law and Rashtriya Prajatantra Party leader Pratibha Rana, who was serving as Nepal's ambassador to Japan. When Oli faced a complicated situation regarding constitutional appointments 2 years ago, the UML chair had proposed of sharing power to Dewa. He had also appointed Jai Bahadur Chand, considered close to Dewa, as the commissioner at the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority. Oli even allocated Dewa's share at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Commission of Investigation on Enforced Disappeared Persons and Universities. Likewise, Dewa had remained quiet while Oli was drawn into controversies related to Balwatar land scam and irregularities related to procurement of health equipment. Dewa had also extended his silent support when Oli had dissolved the House of Representatives for the first time on 20th of December 2020. Oli then returned the favour during the parliamentary ratification of MCC Nepal Compact on 13th of July 2021 under the government led by Dewa. Following divisions in the ruling coalition, Dewa had reached Oli's residence in Balkot, while Oli himself had reached Balwatar as well. The relationship between Oli and Dewa had not soured even when the UML obstructed the parliament sessions for a long time, alleging the speaker of causing the split of the party. Political experts are of the opinion that in addition to Dahal and Nepal, Dewa is collaborating with Oli to ensure an easy remainder of his political career. The Kathmandu Metropolis has begun tearing down buildings constructed by violating regulations inside the metropolis. The structures were torn down after they had failed to do so on their own, even during the 35-day notice period given by the metropolis. Kathmandu Mall is the tenant of the Employee Provident Fund. Despite the building being a government property, the Kathmandu Metropolis has said that it had to forcefully remove the structures for violating the law to reap financial benefits. The mall, which sees thousands of footfalls every day, does not have adequate parking space. The space allocated for parking had been rented to shops and stores at exorbitant rates, while the adjoining road was also encroached by constructing temporary structures. The contractors had assured the shops and stores of no action from the metropolis despite the latter's 35-day notice for removal. The shops and stores now have shared their grievances as the metropolis was compelled to use force to remove those structures. In addition to the Kathmandu Mall, the KMC also used force to remove similar structures of the RB complex in Kichapokuri. Kathmandu Mayor Balinder Shah himself had reached with a team of KMC to remove the structures. While the shopkeepers shared their grievances with Mayor Shah, the mayor directed them to ask for compensations from their landlords. Meanwhile, the metropolis has also directed commercial complexes with underground parking and basement to open such facilities on their own. The metropolis has also directed the Kathmandu District Court to furnish the official documents of its building. KMC has also directed Bida Mall, Cozy Mall and London Pub of the Darbar Mall, among other places, to vacate the basement spaces. It has been understood that there are a total of 35 buildings inside the KMC reaping tax benefits with the agreement of having half basement and underground parking areas. This recent move has come as the KMC's effort to address the city's parking issues. However, this initiative without adequate notification to the tenants by the landlords has left more problems for the shops and stores. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what do you term the initiative of the Kathmandu Metropolis in tearing down the infrastructures built by violating the regulations? Your options are A, effort to manage the city, B, implementing a law, and C, to gain popularity. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Now, only 17,000 employers have so far been listed in the Social Security Fund introduced by the government amid much fervor 3.5 years ago. Of the 462,000 employers, the listing of a very few has been seen as a consequence of the failure of the government in ensuring effective monitoring. In such a situation, the fund has opened its branch offices in Simara and Biratnagar to ease access to its services. However, instead of expanding branches, the associations of workers have suggested the fund to make it mandatory for employers to be listed. The government had introduced the Social Security Fund on 27th of November 2018 for the welfare of those employed in the private sector. The move was hailed as the beginning of a new era. However, of the 462,000 employers across the nation, only 17,312 are listed in the Social Security Fund, and only 354,932 among over 7 million employed by the private sector are affiliated to the fund. A total of 22.28 billion rupees has been collected, while around 2 billion rupees has been paid out. The fund, which had initially operated 4 projects, has been alleged of failing to formulate new programs. The fund, however, has now introduced education and home loans. Despite the introduction of these programs, the fund has not been able to attract employers and workers. Associations of workers have attributed government failure in ensuring mandatory participation of employers as the reason for this situation. The government has not been able to assure the return of the amount deposited in the fund. In addition to introducing effective new projects, the fund must also ensure ease in access to its services to attract more workers and employers. Now, in this context, in our Public Voice segment, we've asked people in several provinces regarding ways to increase participation in the Social Security Fund. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Account खोल्न प्रोसेसिङ चाहिँ अलि सजिलो पार्दिनु पर्छ
रोजगारदाताहरु नै सबै क्षेत्रबाट चाहिँ जिम्मेवारी हुनुपर्छ
प्रसारमा चाहिँ ल्याउन कमी भएको देखिन्छ
The special committee formed to investigate the impeachment motion filed against Chief Justice Cholendra Samsher Rana has decided to take his statement on 31st of August. The committee's meeting held at Singha Darbar decided on the date and also approved of the committee's modality and schedule to look over the motion. The committee has announced of submitting a final report between 7th to 10th of September. During the meeting, member and UML lawmaker Bishnu Podal had suggested the committee should ask clarification from Speaker of the House of Representatives for delayed process on the impeachment motion. Other members, including Lal Babu Pandit, Shivamaya Tumba Hamfe and Krishna Bhakta Pokhrel, also presented differing opinions to committee coordinator Ram Bahadur Bishra. Now, the state should consider all citizens equal. However, the Medical Education Commission has introduced discriminatory provisions that favors children of Army staff over others. Based on the Medical Education Act, government-run medical education institutions should provide 75% scholarships, while private institutions should maintain scholarships of 10%. Likewise, aspirants are enrolled based on their ranks in the merit list published by Medical Education Commission following entrance exams. However, the Commission has now made amendments to the Act that favors children of Army staff. Based on the amendments, 49% of the total seats have been reserved for children of Army staff. This has invited stern criticisms for the Commission and the government. Prior to this, staffs of Patan and Dhulikhel hospitals enjoyed quota reservations at Patan Health Sciences Academy and Kathmandu University's School of Medical Sciences. However, that provision has been removed with the new amendment. Experts opine there should not be discrimination in quota reservations and that all public should have, in fact, equal access to service entities. It's time now for the sports update. The 5-match T20 international series between Nepal and Kenya begins from today. The match in Gymkhana Club ground in Nairobi, Kenya has been scheduled for 3:45 p.m. kickoff Nepal time. This is the first match for Nepal since Indian coach Manoj Prabhakar took charge. Few players whose visas had arrived earlier had left for Kenya on Monday. However, players like Sompal Kami and Vivek Yadav had only reached yesterday. It is yet uncertain if the duo will be playing today. Meanwhile, there are chances Dev Khanal, Arjun Saud and Kishore Mahato might debut in the T20I format with today's match. Dev and Kishore have already played one-day internationals, however had yet to debut in the T20 format. It's his first time with the national team for Arjun. Former captain Gyanendra Malla returned to the team after 6 months. The last time Malla had played for the team was in the World Cup League 2 back in March in UAE. This is the first time Nepal is playing against Kenya in the T20 format. This is also the first time that Nepal is playing in Kenya. In the 10 T20 match played so far, Nepal has won in 9. However, that one loss proved to be fatal for the team as it lost the chance of entering into the T20 World Cup back in February. Nepal had been defeated by UAE back then. Team Nepal has taken the ongoing Kenya tour as an opportunity to improve its global standings. Nepal is at the 14th position in the international T20 ranking and Kenya in the 30th. The International Cricket Council back in June had issued one-day international status to 5 countries, including the US women's national team. The women's national cricket teams of Thailand, Papua New Guinea, the Netherlands and Scotland that once were considered weaker than Nepal have already received the ODI status. However, Nepali women's team have not been able to raise their performance due to lack of proper organizational and tournament structures. Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) has now set a target of attaining the ODI status within 1 year time. Women's cricket in Nepal began almost 15 years ago. However, the national team only played its first T20 international series in December last year. The first T20I match against Qatar was followed by a home T20I match against Uganda. However, Nepal is yet to play an ODI. CAN does not even have women's ODI format in its domestic calendar, and despite their potential, the women's national cricket team have struggled to progress due to weak structure. Meanwhile, CAN, despite a number of issues, has set the ambitious target of getting an ODI status within a year. Nepal had received the T20 international status in 2019 and is in the 18th position in the ICC rankings. US and Thailand are ranked 27th and 20th. However, women's national team of both the countries can play in the ODI format. Sports enthusiasts and experts therefore highlight the need for an extensive reformation of Nepal's women's cricket sector. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.